So in regards to prenuptial agreements are something that I recommend to anyone who's getting married. Now, the issue with the prenuptial agreement typically is it's going to create a bit of an uncomfortable conversation as a couple's about to get married or before they're going to get married. And while that conversation may be uncomfortable, it just is a reality. You look at statistics and you'll see that a vast majority of marriages in this country will end up in a divorce. And a prenuptial agreement is going to set up the framework should the marriage dissolve, how assets are going to be split up front. Now, it may not cover everything in regards to the marital property that is acquired by a couple going into the marriage or after the couple is married, but at least you know your assets are protected from a certain degree going into the marriage. Prenuptial agreements aren't saying that your marriage is doomed to fail, but what it's saying is, should this marriage fail, at least we know that hopefully the divorce process is not going to get as ugly as it could. Prenuptial agreements primarily have been very popular with individuals entering a second or third marriage because they've gone through a messy divorce and are trying to protect themselves. Most of the clients we see with a prenuptial agreement are usually folks that are not in their early 20s or mid-20s. It's individuals who are usually in their 40s to 50s, sometimes 60s, because as they've said, they've suffered through a divorce. But prenups do not mean that your marriage is doomed to fail. It just essentially states that if something could go wrong, at least we know that there are some things that have been set up in the beginning. Primarily speaking, if both individuals have jobs that offer 401ks or that have pension plans, the parties may agree that your 401k remains your 401k, your pension remains your pension, and that's noted in the prenuptial agreement. So one critical item to remember with the prenuptial agreement, though, is if I'm hired by the future wife to draw up a prenuptial agreement, I am unable to review that document for the future husband. So it's always critical to make sure that the prenuptial agreement is reviewed by an attorney strictly for the individual, the future husband or wife, who hasn't hired the lawyer to draw up the document. That's really critical because where you see prenuptial agreements typically challenged are when it wasn't reviewed by the other party with a lawyer, and that individual makes the claim that they didn't understand what they were signing or they didn't agree to the terms to what they were signing to. So by having a lawyer involved, and the documents will always be notarized, but by having a lawyer involved on both sides, it does alleviate the future issue down the road for that party claiming, well, I didn't know what I was signing.